All right, let's jump right in. We are talking about a book that is honestly just massive in its ambition. I'm talking about Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. I mean, this book tries to tell the entire story of us, of humankind, all 70,000 years of it in one go. It's a lot. And right from the start, Harari hits you with this huge central question that pretty much drives the whole book. How on earth did we, Homo sapiens, I mean, think about it, we were this pretty insignificant ape, not a big deal at all, just kind of hanging out in a corner of Africa. How did we become the undisputed rulers of the entire planet? It's a wild story. And just to put that into perspective, look at this. For most of our history, our ancestors were, well, they were in the middle of the food chain, right? They were just as likely to be somebody's lunch as they were to be the hunter. But now, we're the only human species left. And we are, without a doubt, at the very top. So how? What was our secret sauce? Well, Harari says our story really kicks into high gear with the first big turning point. He calls it the cognitive revolution. And this is where we find our secret superpower. So, around 70,000 years ago, something happened. Harari suggests it was probably some kind of random genetic accident, something that literally rewired our brains. And the big deal wasn't just that we could talk about, hey, there's a lion by the river. The real game changer was what we could talk about. For the very first time, an animal could talk about things that aren't actually real. We could create fiction. And this ability to create fiction leads to maybe the most important idea in the entire book, what Harari calls imagined reality. You can think of it like our social glue. It's this web of stories we all agree to believe in, and it's what allows millions, even billions of strangers to work together. And you see these everywhere. I mean, think about it. What is money? It's just a story, right? We all agree that this piece of paper or these numbers on a screen have value. What are nations? They're stories about a shared identity. Corporations, laws, they only exist on paper as legal fictions. Even really important ideas like human rights, they don't exist in a physical sense. They exist because we all believe in them. And yet, these stories, they absolutely run the modern world. This image of a handprint from 30,000 years ago, it just perfectly captures this new way of thinking. This isn't just some ancient graffiti. It's a person reaching out across thousands of years saying, I was here. This is the moment, Harari argues, that our history broke free from just pure biology. Okay, so our next big leap forward was, well, according to Harari, it was actually a huge step back for most people. He calls the agricultural revolution history's biggest fraud. Whoa, that is a bold claim, right? Let's unpack why he says that. The whole idea revolves around what he calls the luxury trap. The move to farming seemed like a great idea. It promised an easier, more stable life. No more dangerous hunts. We could just grow our own food. But as this quote explains, that search for an easier life unleashed all these changes that nobody saw coming and nobody really wanted. And if you look at a direct comparison, the reality for the average person was, well, it was pretty grim. Life actually got harder. A farmer's diet was way less diverse than a forager's, mostly just wheat or rice. They worked longer, tougher hours, and they were way more likely to starve if that one crop failed. Disease also became a huge problem. And this really gets to the heart of the paradox. From an evolutionary standpoint, agriculture was a massive success, right? It allowed our population to absolutely explode. But that success came at the cost of a lot of individual suffering. It was great for the species, Homo sapiens, but not always so great for the individual sapiens. So, that brings us to the third and maybe the most powerful of the great revolutions, the one that gave us almost godlike powers, the scientific revolution. And here's another one of those brilliant, counterintuitive ideas from Harari. He says this wasn't a revolution of knowledge, it was a revolution of ignorance. See, for thousands of years, most cultures believed that all the important stuff was already known. The scientific revolution started with this incredibly radical, humble admission. We don't know. And that simple idea that there are things out there we need to go and discover, that changed absolutely everything. And you can see the results right here. The last 500 years have seen an explosion like nothing before in history. I mean, just look at these numbers. Population, global production, energy use, they all just go completely vertical. This willingness to say, I don't know, unleashed this unbelievable amount of power. And this is what that power looks like on a planetary scale. It's staggering. If you were to put all the large animals on Earth on a giant scale, Wild animals, lions, elephants, whales, are now just a tiny, tiny fraction of that. Humans, and the livestock we raise to feed ourselves, we make up almost all of it. We have literally taken over the planet. Which, of course, leads to Harari's next really big question. Okay, so we became powerful. We became the masters of the planet. We achieved all this insane growth. But are we any happier? And then he takes it one step further, to a place that's almost scary to think about. We're now getting to the point where we can engineer not just the world around us, but we can engineer ourselves. So the really deep question isn't just, what do we want to become? It's, what do we want to want? So after all that, where does this leave us? The real magic of Sapiens isn't just the history. It's the new set of glasses it gives you to look at the world today. So let's build a little action plan for how you can apply these huge ideas. Okay, here's a new way of thinking, right from the book. Step 1, start identifying the stories. Look around you and recognize those imagined orders, money, nations, corporations that are shaping your world. Step 2, question progress. Whenever you hear about some new technology or big change, ask yourself, who really benefits from this and who's paying the price? And finally, step 3, interrogate your own desires. Think about the things you want most in life and ask yourself, honestly, where did those desires come from? Are they truly yours, or were they shaped by the cultural myths you grew up with? And this is ultimately where Harari leaves us. As a species, we've gained this incredible power. We've gone from canoes to spaceships. But, as he says, nobody knows where we're going. We're more powerful than ever before in history, but we might also be more aimless. And maybe the biggest question Sapiens leaves you with is this: what are we going to do with all this power? And what kind of future do we really want to want?